Mayuri was standing by herself, typing something into her phone as fast as she could. When the video had arrived, she told Mayuri that they may have to leave for the pass today. There must have been some reason the video was sent today, at this time. That's how it seemed to Suzuha.
何してるの？あ、すずさん。どう？今日出発することになりそう？作戦概要はこれから確認するつもり。そっか。もし今日出発するってなったら、マユシーは行方不明になっちゃうわけでしょ？心配かけたくないから、お父さんとお母さんと、あとお友達みんなにメールを書いておこうと思って。オカリンおじさんくらいには直接伝えられる時間があればいいけどね。
She would be done going over the mission and deciding on a course of action by sunset, probably.
オカリンにもメール書いたから大丈夫。メールでいいの？うん。
Mayuri smiled and nodded. There were no more tears in her eyes, but you could still see wet lines drawn across her soft, pink cheeks.
なんだか恥ずかしいから。でもね、せっかく書いたメールだけど送れないかもしれないなーって今ちょっと困ってたところなのです。
Oh yeah, she can't send it. Because of the phone outage, of course.
なんで？電波圏外になってるんだ。場所が悪いのかな？圏外？
Suzu looked at the screen on Mayuri's phone. There wasn't a single bar on the antenna.
おかしい。この場所ならいつだって電波は入ってた。
Suzu took out her own phone to double check.
私のもだ。
When she saw that Mayuri was using a different cell carrier than her, she frowned.
嫌な予感がする。
Yeah, I could see why you'd have a bad feeling about this. Yeah. She told Mayuri to hide behind the time machine, and silently moved up against the iron door leading to the stairs. She opened it a crack, taking care not to let it creak. She looked inside the building. It was quiet as ever. There was nothing on the floor below but a room for events and some storerooms, so on weekdays it was always quiet.
気のせいか。
She tilted her head sideways as she softly tried to close the door. Wait, huh? How did someone get to Mayuri? If that's what happened. What? They jumped over the fence? They climbed up the building? Seriously? That's crazy. Okay. At Mayuri's scream, she turned around just in time to see armed agents in camouflage jumping over the fence. One of them had grabbed Mayuri.
外壁をよじ登ってきたのか。
Suzu deeply regretted her mistake. She was well aware that someone could try to come up the walls, but the video from her dad had made her so excited, she had lowered her guard. There was about 30 men. 30 men, oh my gosh. All carrying small assault rifles. Well, except for the guy with the pistol, obviously. That's holding Mayuri. With Mayuri as their hostage, Suzuha couldn't do anything. One of the men gave her an order in a cold voice. He pulled Mayuri close and put the gun to her head, then flipped off the safety. She had no choice but to obey. Suzu took the gun out of her holster and put it on the ground, then took a pose where she couldn't resist.
喋らないで。こいつらいざとなれば本気で姉さんを殺すよ。私は大丈夫だから。
From the way they moved, she could easily tell that they were veteran professionals. That meant they were certainly after the time machine, and probably well aware that only Suzu could operate it. That, Suzu decided, meant that they wouldn't kill her if they didn't have to. The man who'd spoken to her first, who was probably the leader, knelt down next to her. She was searched, roughly, to make sure she wasn't carrying on any other weapons. Okay.
これでも一応女なんだ。少しは気を使えよ。
They took the other small pistol she carried for emergencies, as well as several different kinds of knives.
目標2と目標3確保。そっちは
The leader spoke to the group of men gathering around the time machine.
目標1確保。ロックがかかっていて、すべてエラーで弾かれます。
Several of the men had gone inside the machine as well. Leaving the hatch open had been Suzu's own mistake, but still, it upset her to see them inside the machine.
何をしても無駄だ。そいつは私じゃないということを聞かない。
立て。
The leader kicked her with the heel of his boot. Ow.
手はそのままゆっくりとだ。少しでも余計な動きをしたら即座に人質を殺す。
When she stood up, her hands were handcuffed behind her back. I wonder if Okabe is gonna show up in the middle of this. Wasn't he heading over here? They prodded her from behind to move next to the machine.
生体認証だな。
そうだ。ただし、私の静脈や指紋をコピーしても無駄だ。手を切り落としたり、目玉をくり抜いたって認証には使えない。2036年のシステムはそんなに間抜けじゃない。
The men in camo seemed aware of everything she said. None of them seemed surprised or irritated by the whole 2036 comment, I
表
guess.
情はどうした？
The leader asked the man, who was pointing the gun at Mayuri.
現在こちらに向かっているところです。
The professor, are they talking about Leskinen? Huh. How would Leskinen have found out about the time machine on top of the roof here?
目標1は目標2とセットだ。洗脳しないと無理だと伝えろ。
It's impossible without brainwashing. Suzu gritted her teeth when she heard the word brainwashing. She had seen many of her friends in Valkyrie undergo this cruel procedure, then be sent back as spies before turning into vegetables. The leader turned towards Suzu.
洗脳の行き着く先は分かっているはずだ。教授は薬などは使わない。直接脳をいじられることになる。そうなる前に素直に我々に協力した方が利口だと思うが。
教授か。
Where'd she come from? Where'd she come from? An old doctor with that name had led a brainwashing team that attempted to destroy Valkyrie. Suzu had hated them more than anyone else. Huh. They hadn't used drugs either. It was safe to assume that both professors were the same person. Oh, so is Leskinen going around in 2036? Wow.
分かった。
She nodded.
言うことを聞く。だが、これじゃ無理だ。
Suzu jangled the cuffs behind her back.
手錠は外す。ただし抵抗すればそっちの女が死ぬ。
There was still a gun pointed at Mayuri's head. Even if she tried to resist, it would be impossible to save Mayuri from this many professional soldiers. When she went inside the cockpit, she used her biometrics to bypass the lock and brought up the control console. Lights came on all across the machine, and she could hear a low rumbling.
よし降りろ。あとは我々が調査する。
あんたたちに理解できるとは思えないけどね。
As Suzu left the cockpit, the leader turned his gaze towards a particular cluster of the men, who seemed to be engineers. That was the moment she was waiting for. Oh, what's she gonna do? Her hand wandered below the console for just a moment when she left the cockpit. She had hidden some knives there. Without making a sound, she threw it at the leader. The knife pierced his throat. He went down so quickly, he hadn't even had time to scream. Dang, Suzu. Wow, some good aim you got. She quickly readied another knife and darted between the men in camo. Her target was the man pointing a gun at Mayuri's head. It's fair. She dropped her hips low to the ground. In an instant, she moved behind him and slit his throat. Blood poured out onto an astonished Mayuri, but there's no time to worry about her. Yeah, that must be a little traumatizing there. She grabbed his rifle and fired a few shots to force him to the ground, and grabbed Mayuri's hand and ran behind the machine. The plan had gone well so far, but she had seriously underestimated how well trained these men were. The second in command quickly moved to the front and worked to re-establish control. All she had were a knife and a gun she'd stolen, and she needed to protect a Mayuri, a non-combatant. She was still facing more than 25 active enemies. Wherever the right way to get out of this was, she couldn't find it. The time machine was still active. She couldn't escape because she couldn't leave it here. One of the men fired several rounds towards her, which bounced off the sides of the machine. And then Mayuri's head flew back as if she'd been struck. A spurt of blood came out. Oh no. Her cute face was turning blood red. One of the rounds had grazed her after it had ricocheted. She was clutching herself with her arms, and her expression was completely blank. Her tiny body was shaking. Suzu couldn't blame her. She fired back at the enemy, but they kept drawing closer. Yeah, that's fair. The time machine's maintenance hatch was right in front of her. When she saw that it was there, she visualized her last option in mind. She can blow up the machine. She's gonna blow them up to... that's how she's gonna get out of this? But the time machine... If she did that, all their plans would be ruined. The path to Steins Gate would be forever closed. But... that didn't mean she was cold-blooded enough to sacrifice Mayuri here. The world lines were going to converge. Maybe Mayuri wouldn't die here at all. That's a good point. But what her father had said during the video message bothered her. I see. So... the question is, did the way they how they changed the world line, was it enough to make it so that Mayuri would die instead of live? Which meant that Suzuha had no proof that Mayuri would be alive in 2036 now. Had the world line really changed? Of course, for the sake of Operation Aquila, she hoped it had, but that didn't mean that meant she wouldn't be able to move from this place. The worst case scenario. That would be these men taking the time machine. They could turn the world line into something even worse than the one that Suzu had experienced. It might become a world line where not only Mayuri's life wasn't safe, but Daru's wasn't either. If that was going to happen, she had to make her choice fast. She kept a careful eye on the men. As soon as she saw an opening, she opened the maintenance hatch's biometric lock. She could see part of the engine, which was still giving off a quiet rumble. She turned her gun sights on it. Fortunately, the unit that created the care black hole wasn't active. Even if she blew up the machine here, it wouldn't cause serious damage to the space-time continuum. Oh yeah, that's true. You wouldn't want to, like, break time by, like, blowing up a machine. That's something you most likely want to avoid. As soon as she saw that, she was going to pull the trigger. Mayuri's voice stopped her. Mayuri had stopped her once before. Once again, she hesitated for just another instant. On the battlefield, that instant can decide your fate. She took a quick look around again, and then she froze. Oh! Mixed in with the man in camo was a girl with a dark motorcycle suit and a helmet. Wait a minute.
Kagari!
Was it Kagari who had leaked this place location to them? Oh yeah, I guess she could have. I mean, she knew about it. I mean, how else would have the professor found out? It's not like he would have found out through Amadeus. Amadeus had no idea about this, as far as I knew. She was well aware of Kagari's abilities after their 2 battles. If she wasn't completely in control of herself, she'd be killed instantly. She talked to herself. How many would she have to take with her in order to even give Mayuri a chance to escape? Right now, the only thing she could afford was to think about getting Mayuri back to Rintaro Okabe. But just when she made her decision, she felt Kagari staring at her, or more precisely, the blood dripping down Mayuri's forehead. And just after that, Kagari did something she hadn't expected at all. Did she turn on the men there? Oh, Final Fantasy boss music. There was a scream. No, it was the howl of an enraged beast. And then the slaughter began. Wow. Kagari grabbed the second-in-command's head with her left hand. With her right, she steadied her rifle. After she fired, there was very little left of his head. Oh my gosh. Kagari is in rampage mode. The rest of him dropped to the ground. She slammed the piece of tattered flesh that had once been a man's head onto the ground, and, with no warning at all, leaped from one screaming man to another. She fired a gun into every single one of them. Oh, hey, I got half the CGs. Even when her targets were already soaked in a sea of blood, she kept firing until their limbs were blown apart to unrecognizable rags. Some of them tried shooting her to protect themselves, but no matter whether she was struck, Kagari didn't even flinch. When her magazine ran dry, she drew forth long military-style cleavers. Holding one in each hand, she used them in her other military combat training to slaughter anyone she saw. Their entrails were scattered all over the twilight rooftop, covering her whole body in blood and bits of flesh. Ouch. Huh. Suzu held Mayuri's head tight to her chest. Mayuri was shaking from fear, but she did as she was told and clamped her hands down over her ears. Even so, she might still hear the sounds of ripping flesh and shattering bone. She's not even human. Even Suzu had gone stone cold in shock. During all their time in combat, she'd never seen a one-sided slaughter like this. She experienced this when they fought, but Kagari seemed to feel no fear or no pain. She simply focused all her energy on killing her opponent. It was often said that humans unconsciously avoided using all their muscle power to protect their own bodies, but Kagari seemed to lack the capability. Yeah, it is often said. Just now she'd stabbed a man who turned to run from her in the back, then tossed his huge body to the ground with only a single arm. Then she kicked his stomach from below and ruptured his organs, killing him. Oh my gosh, this is getting pretty graphic. Ugh. Finally, after several, perhaps a dozen or more had been killed, what remained of the squad started to scream orders at one another. With terrifying reflexes, she dodged between their shots and brutally murdered several more. But she has like Matrix reflexes, can dodge between the shots. At last, a hail of gunfire struck her left hand, and the knife she was holding fell to the floor. No, that wasn't it. It wasn't the knife that fell, it was her entire left hand. Oh my gosh. The shock caused her to stagger back. Someone screamed in a voice that lacked any pride and bravery a soldier is supposed to possess. Several more bullets dug into her body. Parts of her motorcycle suit ripped open, and the helmet cracked. Blood that was clearly her own, not that of the men she'd killed, began to pour out. At last, she fell into a pile of corpses. Ouch. They must have thought they finally had her. One of the survivors pointed his gun down to finish her, but just as he was about to pull the trigger, her bestial roar and the man's terrified scream overlapped each other in a horrible cacophony. She forced herself to leap up and brought the back of the remaining cleaver down to his arms, knocking him back. An instant later, the knife slit his throat and ended his life. Oh my gosh. The survivors began to flee in terror. Wow. R.I.P. Kagari. That's crazy. That was really intense. Oh my gosh. Well, this is exciting. I wonder... This is crazy. I guess so... So the men there probably were involved in turning off all the phone signals, I would imagine. They would have to have something to do with it. I wonder why they did that, though. I mean, was that so that no one would find out about them? That no one would start, you know, texting, hey, I see all these men with their... and, like, you know, climbing up this building here. I mean, I don't know. I don't see exactly why they did it yet, but maybe they'll explain that better. Anyways, I'm going to cut this off here. It's been very exciting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.